There is no plan, is there? There is no immigration plan. There's just fear around this subject. But the whole question of what the two main parties are saying about immigration, it interests me because you have, with Suella Braverman in the position she's in, for example, at the moment, you have that very front foot, aggressive policy, I would argue aggressive language as well, racist rhetoric even from her and Robert Jenrick. But Labour on this has been interesting because it is treading a timid line on questions of immigration. And doesn't want to frighten the horses, whoever the horses are. What would your take on both main parties and immigration be? Because I'm just reeling from. I have no idea what our plan as a country is these days. I don't know who we are anymore.
Well, I mean, I think post-Brexit, we've had an incredibly liberal immigration policy, although most people don't realise it. The difference being is that most of the people coming, and there are an awful lot of them, maybe 700,000 over the last year, are coming not from the EU anymore, but coming from other countries, particularly South Asian countries and East and West Africa. So, we've imported a whole lot of people, but they're just coming, not from Europe, but coming from those places anymore. I mean, immigration for the Conservatives is a bit of a double-edged sword, I think, because on the one hand, I think they do think it's a wedge issue that they can employ, to break off some of Labour's core support, more sort of working class, less educated voters who, are very, very concerned about immigration. But on the other hand, for the Conservatives, if they don't deliver on these promises that they make, I think a lot of voters who might perhaps have supported them in 2019 are going to say, well, what have you done in this respect? So I think it's a problem for them. Labour, I mean, it's par for the course hedging on this. I mean, they know that they are vulnerable to the accusation that they are, quote unquote, soft on immigration. And they want to make sure that they don't get too badly damaged by that. And sometimes that can be a bit of an overreaction on Labour's part, so that they almost overdo the whole kind of patriotism, take back control rhetoric.
Isn't the problem for the Tories, though, that, in the same way that when they say Labour is a party of high taxation and yet under them we have the highest taxation in 70 years or something, and we have the highest immigration probably in 70 years as well.
Yes.
Labour can't really throw the latter at them, can they? Because that sounds like they're going, oh, you've let all the foreigners in.
Yeah, because Labour do have to worry, of course, about their supporters who, generally speaking, are a little bit more liberal on immigration. You're absolutely right. So that is why Labour has to play a very cute, canny game on this. I mean, for the Conservatives, I think that partly explains why so much of the rhetoric recently has been about stopping the boats and focusing on asylum seekers, because, to be honest, they probably want to distract from the fact that hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people are now coming into the country using the new regime post-Brexit.
You couldn't make it up, could you?
Well, I couldn't possibly comment.
No, I don't know how much of the first hour you heard, Tim, but we were talking about, I feel that we need two things from both of the main from all of the parties. We need more truthfulness about what's needed and what's happening, and we need more pragmatism about what's needed.
Well, I mean, I certainly think that is true. And there is actually some research evidence to suggest that if you tell people a little bit more about how our pension system works, for example, that it is pay as you go. And then unless we do have a, reasonable supply of workers,
you won't have a pension.
We won't have a pension.
And you won't have a carer.
We won't have a carer, and that might be the way to do it. But to be honest, everyone says they would like a grown-up conversation about these issues, but I'm afraid politicians are too scared to do it, because although some voters say they want that, but do they really?
Tough. You're meant to lead, aren't you? You're meant to lead.
Well, you are meant to lead, that's right. But, it's always a balance when you are a politician between, telling people what they need to hear and telling people what they want to hear.
Oh, I say scare the life out of them and tell them the truth. Anyway, we'll see, which is probably why I'm not leading a political party anytime soon. Thank you, Tim. Tim Bale, Professor of Politics at Queen Mary, University of London, author of the book, The Conservative Party After Brexit, Turmoil and Transformation. Do you want the truth? You can't handle the truth. That's a great line, isn't it? It felt like a moment for that one. Do you want the truth on immigration? Do you want the truth on workforce? Do you want the truth on your pension? Do you want the truth on who'll care for you when you're elderly? Do you want the truth of that? Because it involves immigration, and you can't ask for a white one, I'm afraid. Your calls on Keir Starmer's plan and that plan. There is no plan, is there? There is no immigration plan. There's just fear around this subject.